Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and welcome to another episode of the People's Questions, episode 253. We got a pretty average episode this time around. I don't believe we had any newbies, so everyone is regular for this particular episode. We're jumping off real simple with the first question coming from Zyborg136, and you want to know, what three characters from the Star Wars universe would I like to see have their own standalone movie? Oh, that's a good one. Obviously, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think me and the rest of the world wants to see an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie starring Ewan McGregor. I'd like to see a Palpatine movie. More specifically, I would kind of like it to follow the Darth Plagueis storyline. I think you could do something pretty interesting with that, because that initially could go into the origins of how Anakin Skywalker was really born with a real biological father, so I think that would be cool. Many people would like to see a Yoda movie, but I think that's kind of pushing it, because Yoda has always been so mysterious. But if I had to pick a third character that I want to see a standalone movie for, I guess you could do Darth Maul. I recently saw, they have this fan movie for Darth Maul out. So to see his upbringing would be pretty interesting, although it might have a similar effect in terms of origin movies where, it's best to keep this character's past mysterious, even though if you're a fan of Star Wars then you already know these characters' origins. But I think that for the general audience that doesn't read the books, it could help with them, and so it wouldn't be as mysterious, because it's information that's already out there. So I think those are the three characters that I would like to see standalone movies for. Your next question comes from Hyruga Blood 881, and you want to know, is there any Jedi or Sith you think Big Boss would respect, maybe even be friends with? A Jedi or Sith that Big Boss could be friends with? To be honest, I think that he could be friends, really. So you might find this surprising, with either Anakin Skywalker or Darth Vader. Both of them are tortured characters. Both of them have been manipulated before, and they've kind of not wanted to be manipulated. Both of them have respect for military forces. What a lot of people don't know about Darth Vader is that Darth Vader doesn't like the higher rank class members of the Empire, but he has a lot of respect for the stormtroopers, simply because they're the ones that are actually doing the main fighting. And that's something that I think they would have in common. And as long as their interests don't cross paths, I really think that they could form a kind of respect between warriors, because they really are the best during their time. And they have so many parallels, because, as some of you know, Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker would be defeated by Luke Skywalker, and Big Boss would eventually be beaten by Solid Snake. And they've both been described as being very similar to their genetic fathers. So I think that parallel alone would make Anakin Skywalker or Darth Vader very much be able to befriend someone like Big Boss. Next question comes from Corey Roloff, and you want to know, have I played The Last Guardian? If so, do I think the game, or what do I think? Do I like the game, and how would I compare it to Shadow of the Colossus? I have played The Last Guardian. I didn't finish it. I think I got maybe 20% through the game, and then I gave it away to a close friend of mine. I couldn't finish it simply because I just could not get past the controls. Visually it's okay. I think the main problem I have with The Last Guardian is I don't like how the whole point of the game is just trying to figure out where to go. And there's a lot of puzzles, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I think the fact that you have to be half reliant on Trico's AI, I wish there was a function that they had added where once the mysterious boy is on Trico, we can actually switch controls and control Trico. I think that by having that, allowing us to control both characters, I think would have made the gameplay experience much more enjoyable. Because half the time, Trico, you would see someplace, and you're not sure if Trico can go there. You're not sure if we can go that direction. And then at points he would just kind of wander off and do his own thing, and I'm like, I didn't even know you could do that. I think not having the option to control Trico's direction and having to constantly rely on the AI makes The Last Guardian just a very frustrating experience, and the camera is just terrible, and the controls are just, they have to be so precise. I mean, the platforming on that is insane from what I've seen, so I just couldn't finish it. If I were to compare it to Eco or Shadow of the Colossus, it's not even close. Visually, it is impressive, but in terms of enjoyment, it's not nearly as enjoyable as Eco and especially Shadow of the Colossus. Next question comes from Matt Cruz. Who is my favorite Jedi in Star Wars? Are you kidding? Well, of course it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Who else is there? I mean, for God's sake, I got his lightsaber here from episodes 1 and 2, and I'm planning on getting his Redeemer lightsaber from episodes 3 and 4 sometime later this year, so hell yeah! Of course it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Next question comes from Sensico Scarpino, and you want to know, do I think that under the right circumstances, Ryan Reynolds would have been a good Hal Jordan? Well, Sensico, I actually thought he was a good Hal Jordan. The problem, if there was one thing I don't blame, I mean, don't get me wrong, Green Lantern was a terrible movie, but I don't think it was really his fault. I think he played the character very, very well. It's just the movie surrounding him just didn't work. I really did not like the suit. I didn't like the plot. Some of the actors were just phoning it in. I thought the main plot itself wasn't bad. It just was just terribly executed. I think that under the right director who had the right vision, that really could have been at least a somewhat basic superhero origins movie, which we could have gotten a sequel to. The problem is I think we got it at the wrong time. Had that movie come out now, and Ryan Reynolds hadn't gone over to do Deadpool, there's no question in my mind that Ryan Reynolds would be in the DCU. No question in my mind. The next question comes from Andrew Rogers, and you want to know, how many Final Fantasy matchups would have had different outcomes if characters were allowed summonings? Ooh. If characters were allowed summonings, all of them could easily be changed. I mean, if you just go down the list. Sephiroth versus Cypher. If Cypher had access to summonings, he could definitely take down Sephiroth. Cloud versus Zack. If they both had summonings, it could go either way. I think one of the ones you mentioned, if Sephiroth had summonings, or if he could turn to his safer mode, I do think he could take down Virgil. I think that Virgil would really have to be pushed to his maximum just to match and beat Sephiroth in his base form. But if Sephiroth had the option to turn into his safer mode, that changes the entire dynamic of the fight. And by the time that happens, Virgil would have been too tired. He would have been too worn out. And I do believe he would have been blown away by Sephiroth's safer. So I think that most of them, if not all of them, the outcomes would have changed if summonings were allowed. I think the only one that it wouldn't change is probably the Aerith versus Yuna matchup, simply because I don't think Aerith wants to get into a summoning battle with a grand summoner like Yuna. I just don't think that's going to work in her favor. The next question comes from JDS4696. He wants to know, do I think the Nintendo Switch will be a successful gaming system? I'm not sure. I've not played a Nintendo system in so many years. I'm kind of past that now. I mean, if Nintendo is successful, and all the power to you. If it doesn't, and it's like the Wii U, then they got to go back to the drawing board. I think that at this point, they will always be one step behind Microsoft and Sony. I just don't think that they can keep up, because I've always considered Nintendo a kid's system. And kids aren't the ones that are buying these games. It's the adults. And trust me, more people tend to buy games for themselves than for their children. Or at least that's just my opinion. Next question comes from Matthew Keller, and you want to know, what are my thoughts on the new Saber Crystals discussion in the Council forecast of Rogue One? I thought it was a good discussion. I think they went into pretty good detail, going into depth with the crystals and the new continuity, and you know, when you compare it from canon to Legends, I thought that discussion was very well handled. The question is, down the road, will Disney add more continuity issues, which will require us to have to revisit this argument? And you know, hopefully they don't have to do that. But in terms of the actual conversation that they had in that video, I thought it was very informative. I enjoyed it. And the last question of the episode comes from Clayton Reed, and you want to know, who would handle against Psycho Mantis in his prime? Anakin Skywalker, Emperor Palpatine, or Quinlan Vos? Okay, we got Anakin Skywalker, take him out. Oh, hell no. Oh God, that would be just torture for him. I mean, Psycho Mantis is someone who can go into your mind and kind of mess with your thought patterns. Oh, and as emotionally unstable as Anakin Skywalker was, that would be just an absolute nightmare. Quinlan Voss, no, I don't think he'd do very well either, because he has this knack to be very, very tempted by the dark side. And at one point he did kind of cross over into the dark side, and it took a great effort from one of his fellow Jedi in order to bring him back into the light. And this even happened to his apprentice too. So I think the best person who probably could take on Psycho Mantis in his prime is absolutely Emperor Palpatine. He is a master. He is probably the master of the dark side. He would have all types of abilities, and the one thing that I think would give him the solid edge over Psycho Mantis is his ability to affect the mind and his ability to be very persuasive. So the whole psycho powers that Mantis has would not even come close to anything Emperor Palpatine could put up. If anything, Palpatine will be able to mess with Psycho Mantis in a way that Mantis will just go insane and probably kill himself. So if there's any one person who could definitely take out Psycho Mantis out of those three, it would absolutely be Emperor Palpatine. And with that, those are all the questions you guys sent in for this episode. I'd like to thank all of you guys for making this episode possible. If you guys have any more questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. Make sure you get them into me before next Wednesday before I start filming this, and make sure you only pick one question per person. And like always, I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and hope you guys subscribe to keep track of my future videos. And like always, I'll see you guys next time.